Hi, I'm Joe Garagiola.
And I'm Gary Carter.
And we're your hosts for the Ultimate World Series, the greatest games in World Series history played out in one classic series.
Up next, Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series. It's the third game of the 1975 World Series between the Boston Red Sox and the Cincinnati Reds.
And if you like controversy and drama, you'll love this game.
With the 1975 World Series tied at 1, the Reds and Red Sox traveled to Riverfront Stadium for a pivotal Game 3. Stalled by Boston's starting pitching, the Big Red Machine was looking to crank it up in front of their home crowd. The Reds had plenty of firepower, but their spark on this day would come from an unlikely source.
Hi, I'm Joe Garagiola. In 1975, the United States and Russia joined forces in the space race. The top song, Glenn Campbell and the Rhinestone Cowboy, you remember that one. And the best team in baseball was the Cincinnati Reds, winners of 108 games, the most of any National League team since the 1906 Chicago Cubs. The Reds won the West by 20 games, swept the Pirates in the playoffs, and met the Boston Red Sox in one of the most dramatic World Series ever played. The Reds were favored to win, but they ran into tough pitching in Boston. They split the first two games. The series moved to Cincinnati for Game 3, which was one of the most controversial in World Series history. Now, to relive that game, I'm joined by former catcher Gary Carter, who played in a pretty great World Series himself. Now, the Reds expected to have an easy time in this series, but Red Sox pitching surprised them. And it did, led by Luis Tiant and Bill Lee. Did you ever bet against any of them?
I did bet against Louis Tiant in spring training of '75. That was my rookie season, and I was impressed. And, of course, all the winning years that Louis Tiant had, I was just looking to just try and make contact. Fortunately, I was able to hit a double off of him, and I was just psyched up because that first spring training where I really felt like I belonged maybe in the major leagues.
Well, but with Tiant, let's get back to him with his turning around. Now, the only guy I saw come close to him was an old Dodger pitcher, Freddie Fitzsimmons, who turned his back. But Tiant, I remember saying that wherever you sat in the ballpark, there was going to be a time, because he turned so much, he was going to look you right in the eye. Was it distracting to hit against him?
I think it was, because he was very deceptive. Now, modern day, the guy who reminds me of Louis Tiant would be Hideo Nomo, who's also a member of the Dodgers. And Louis Tiant was the type of guy that he changed speed so extremely well. Threw his breaking ball a couple of different ways. His fastball, he'd move in and out. He'd drop down from time to time. So really, Joe, not any which pitch that he would throw would be the same. And I think that's really what threw the Reds off.
Now, how about even with men on base, he had that...
Oh, yeah, that little stutter step kind of thing that he came down to that set position, and it was tough to really get a move off of him. And as most base stealers steal bases, they steal it off the pitcher, and he was tough to steal off of.
You don't think I was going to blame it on the catchers? How about Bill Lee?
Well, Bill Lee had that big curveball, and here was a guy, a lot of people thought of him as being the spaceman. But Bill Lee, he could pitch. He was very intelligent, a great competitive player out there. And I had the pleasure of catching him up in Montreal, so I know. And he would move the fastball in and out, and he was able to actually jam a lot of right-handed hitters, but then he'd throw that sinker and then that big lollipop curveball.
So all that spaceman stuff was a lot of con.
I think so.
Okay. How about the weather in that series? I remember doing that. We sat in that hotel and played poker. It seemed like for the whole year. That had to be a factor.
Well, I think it played a very big factor. A couple of the games played in drizzling rain, but 5 days went by. There was a day off, 3 days of rain. But basically, hey, the games that were played, they were interesting. It made for an exciting series.
It certainly did. So let's go to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati for Game 3 of the 1975 World Series. But even before that, we're going to have a visit with Johnny Bench and Carlton Fisk.
Carlton, what way, if any, does this game change, the third game of the series, coming out of Fenway Park into Cincinnati?
Well, we don't have any rain here to start with. Makes the track a little bit quicker. On this AstroTurf, the track will be quicker. I think maybe as a pitcher you might be able to be a little more aggressive in a ballpark like this. You don't have to pinpoint your pitchers quite as much. A mistake in Fenway, although not in the two-game series we had over there because of the weather and the wind, a mistake wouldn't cost you quite as much. But I think in a bigger ballpark like this, you can come right after the hitters in this ballpark. As a catcher and, of course, as a pitcher, you have to be more aware of the base runners also.
Johnny, I got the impression that this was going to be a hitter's series. You think it'll turn around here and there'll be more hits flying around in this artificial surface?
I really believe so. I think the advantage here, of course, for both ball clubs is the fact that the AstroTurf is going to call some base hits, and, of course, the Red Sox got 8 in the first game, and their ground balls naturally will be through just as quick here, if not a little bit quicker, and balls in the alley. I think the outfielders are going to have some problems trying to chase down fly balls, and the balls that they were diving for. Now they got be a little bit more cautious of when they're diving for them, that if they do and they miss it, then the ball's going to go most of the way to the wall. And the runners in the infield naturally are Steelers. It's an advantage to us, definitely, to be here. And I think people here are ready to break loose. I think both clubs have been feeling out each other, and I think they're going to be a little more aggressive at the plate and a little bit more comfortable right now.
Your pitching staffs aren't going to be happy to hear what you just said. More runs. Thanks a lot, Carlton. Thanks, Johnny.
Gary Nolan this year won 15 and lost 9. He's still only 27 years old. He broke in as a youngster here, was an amazing pitcher right from the start until the shoulder miseries got him. He is not a strikeout pitcher, but has outstanding control, Marty, right?
Certainly does, Kurt. He walked only 29 batters during the course of the year, and 5 of those walks were intentional walks. He's on the black outside and on the black inside.
All right. In other words, he hits those corners and moves that ball around. He's facing Cecil Cooper, who loves to go after that first pitch and a fastball, and he ripped the foul back out of play. Cooper's had 1 hit and 8 times up so far. He's had 1 RBI. It'll be Cooper, Doyle, Yastrzemski. 3 left-handers in a row for the Red Sox facing a right-hander. The outfield is around toward right for Cooper. He's a pull hitter. He hits a curveball down to first. Perez has it. The race to the bag, and there's 1 down. Here you'll notice the outfielders are going to be playing deeper. And in Fenway Park, well, one reason, of course, the wind was blowing in Fenway Park. Here you have to play deeper because if the ball hits on a hop, it'll bounce over your head. And that's one of the dangers of this artificial surface. It's very hard, and the infielders play deeper, too.
Also got to protect those alleys in the outfield, Kurt. Ball scoots out there, gets by, it could be a triple.
Denny Doyle's had 3 hits and 7 times. He popped his foul back out of play. I think they've told him to go up there and hit that first pitch. This guy's around the plate. Don't get behind on him. And the first 2 batters for the Red Sox have been first ball hitters. 0-1 to Doyle. 1 out. Nobody on. We're just underway. Yastrzemski's on deck, and then Carlton fifths. Nolan works with a fastball, a curve, a changeup. Ground ball to Perez. Here he is again. Same play, same spot, 2 down. And both of them bounced out on curveballs.
First 2 Red Sox. Nolan's the kind of pitcher, correct me if I'm wrong, Marty. He has a reputation as a breaking ball pitcher, and yet he gets a lot of hitters out with fastballs. He did that against Pittsburgh when he was overshadowed by Candelaria in that great performance.
That's right, Tony, and looking back over the season, he may well have had his best fastball all year against the game that you mentioned in Pittsburgh.
And yet he didn't get much credit because a youngster by the name of Candelaria struck out 14. Nolan allowed only 2 runs in that game. Yastrzemski hits a high hopper to Joe Morgan. It's going to be a quick 1, 2, 3 inning. And the score at the end of the first half inning, 0-0. The Reds coming to bat.
We now return to Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports. Legends of the Fall is brought to you by Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
If I ran the post office, there'd be a way to send paperwork and merchandise overseas that gets attention. Something that says, open me. I'm important. But it's gotta save money, real money. And go to all my key markets. Plus it would have value, be reliable, and fast.
Global Priority Mail. It's happening at your U.S. Postal Service. We deliver.
It's challenging. That's what I love about it. I trust my instincts.
It's different running your own business.
My work is everything. It's pure adrenaline.
Every decision comes down to you. It takes confidence. It gives me a sense of pride.
It calls on resources you never knew you had. like the gold corporate card from American Express.
Call now and apply right over the phone.
Because control is in the details. You get quarterly reports by category.
It simplifies bookkeeping.
Small business savings like 3% off mobile gas, 10% off UPS overnight delivery, up to 15% off Hertz, and up to 25% off Hilton hotels.
It adds up.
And we put your company's name on the card because you are the company.
I like what it says about
People recognize it. It's the best card to have.
Every day, more than 1 million small business owners rely on the corporate card. See how it can help you.
It's hard to do business without it.
Call 1-800-SUCCESS now.
We'll take your application right over the phone.
The Gold Corporate Card. Let American Express give your business the power to do more.
It's time for Bernie Williams to get into the batter's box and face a rock-hard ball coming at him from just 60 feet 6 inches away. Battling sinkers, sliders, curves, knucklers, changeups, forkballs, fastballs, and the occasional brushback. But Bernie doesn't sweat it. Hey, he's got a whole 1/10 of a second to react.
Drop in as Broadway Joe and Dick Schapp rap with the stars.
You make a pass and it's out of
The Joe Namath Show, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Tune in and turn on, only on Classic Sports.
You're watching the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Pete Rose is 2 out of 8. Rose, Griffey, and Morgan, they've changed the batting order. They've moved Griffey up to number 2 to get his speed up there along with Morgan. Morgan will drop from 2 to 3. Wise is primarily a fastball slider. He throws a lot of high stuff. He's not a ground ball pitcher. The first pitch is high to Rose, a ball. Pete Rose, will he get those 3,000 hits? I wouldn't doubt it. He has over 2,500 now. Takes great care of himself. Durable. He should have 3 or 4 more years. A ground ball to Doyle. The Red Sox second baseman puts him away, and there's 1 down. Ken Griffey up. Griffey, 2 out of 7. 1 RBI. He got a big one. A big RBI for the Reds to give them a split in Boston when he doubled the left center in the 9th inning. Strike. Griffey beat out over 38 infield hits this year. He must hit a lot of those high choppers, huh, Marty?
He does, Kurt. And this ballpark with the artificial surface and the others around the National League are really tailor-made for him.
Of course, the National League has mostly artificial surfaces. The Red Sox played at only 2 in the American League, Kansas City and Chicago's infield. The outfield's natural grass. 1 ball, 1 strike to Griffey. He's been clocked going to first base in 3.5. That one nearly to the backstop. Same outfield for the Red Sox. Yastrzemski in left, Lynn in center, Evans in right. Sparky Anderson has called it the best defensive outfield one of his teams has ever faced. They're all around, getting to the ball, catching it, and then throwing it accurately. The 2-1 pitch. Foul ball. Foul tip into the mitt of Carlton Fisk. The infield is Petrocelli at third, Burleson at short, Doyle at second, Cooper at first. Fisk receiving the deliveries of Rick Wise.
Kurt, Sparky did qualify that about this outfield. He did say, I'd like to see them play, or I'm going to have to see them play on artificial surface, where he thinks raw speed is so important.
1 out, nobody on. We have no score in the last of the first inning. Fouled away. Count 2-2 to Ken Griffey. Perez was kidding him around the batting cage tonight. I want to see you do something. He said, I did more than you did in Boston. So I moved him 2 bases. You only moved him 1.
Does that kind of banner sound familiar to you, Marty, being around that dugout and clubhouse of the Reds all year long?
It really does, Tony. They give Griffey a hard time referring to him as a punch and Judy hitter, and he said if he can hit .305 every year, he'll take it.
I don't blame you. 3-2 was Pete Rose, whose ambition was to become the first singles hitter to make $100,000 a year, and he did it. 1 out, nobody on. We have a full count to Ken Griffey. Griffey's played as right now a pull hitter about 2 steps to right. Petroselli's backed up on a 3-2 count. Burleson's in a couple of steps, so against the speed of Griffey. Bounding ball to second baseman Doyle. And we have 2 down. So the first 3 men up for the Red Sox all grounded out, and the first 2 men up for the Reds have bounced out. Here's little Joe Morgan. He's had 2 hits and 7 times. He said, I want to, you know, he's got a great personality. Came over and he said, I want to thank you. My wife told me about comparing me to Sugar Ray Robinson, pound for pound. Sugar Ray, probably the greatest fighter of all time. I know Muhammad Ali would argue that. But I said pound for pound last Saturday, here was the strongest player in the majors. He's little, but he knocked in 94 runs and hit 17 homers. And does everything else. 0-1. Perez, the big right-handed slugger on deck. 2 down, nobody on, no score. That one hitter that Rick Wise pitched, Joe Morgan spoiled it on June 13th with a line drive hit 2 out of the 9th inning. Wise winning that one 8-0 in a Cardinal uniform. Strike on the inside corner. Good pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Wise, like Gary Nolan, has pretty good control. He likes to spot the fastball. His best pitch probably is his slider. He'll throw an off-speed curveball on occasion.
I think it's a tougher lineup with Morgan hitting third. Got more speed up on top, and also Morgan can knock in runs and take some heat off Perez and bench behind him. There's a high fly in the left center. Fred Lynn drifting back, waiting. 3 up, 3 down for Cincinnati. At the end of the first inning, it's 0-0.
You're watching Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports. This World Series memory is brought to you by Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio on HBO Monday, October 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back and Joe Carter with a 3-run homer. The winners and still world champions, the Toronto Blue Jays.
In a World Series like that, knowing with 20, 30 million people watching that you came through and hit a home run in the World Series, it was the greatest moment I'll ever have in baseball.
The grace.
Oh my God, watching him is graceful. Everything he did was easy for him.
The glamour.
There was a matinee idol quality to him that you usually associate with the film business.
The all-American hero.
You're looking for a hero, something to believe in. That's what Joe was.
From reluctant star to reclusive legend.
He lived for baseball.
For those who saw him play, it will always be summer. Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio? Premieres Monday, October 20th on HBO.
What's your favorite sports memory? Is it Reggie's 3 homers in Game 6? Or Michael's 6 3-pointers in Game 1? Or maybe it was the time you and your dad had the best seats in the house. We want to hear your favorite sports memory and maybe put it on the air. Classic Sports Network invites you to send us your favorite memory, whether it was a moment seen round the world or one that only you know about. Write it down on a postcard, mail it in, and if we tell your story, you get star billing and a Classic Sports logo t-shirt. Send your favorite memory to Favorite Sports Memories, Classic Sports Network, Murray Hill Station, P.O. Box 1830, New York, New York, 10156. Because if it meant something to you, it means something to us.
Stars. They shine. They shimmer. And boy, can they shoot! Classic Sports Network presents Phi Beta Classics, the most exciting college basketball games in history with the biggest stars of the game. Jordan, Ewing, Wilkins, Drexler.
Puts it up.
So watch some stellar hoop action as North Carolina takes on Georgia, Saturday at 7:15 Eastern, only on Classic Sports Network. We now return to Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Carlton Fisk looks at a strike, and Nolan's in that strike zone with that first pitch. Fisk has had 1 hit in 6 times. He's knocked in 2 runs. Lynn, a left-hander on deck, and then Petroselli. That's the curveball of Gary Nolan. Nolan's been an outstanding pitcher for the Reds, but he's not had much luck in the World Series. He's made 4 previous World Series starts, no wins, 2 losses, and a high earned run average of 5.40. There's a blast deep left. Forget about it. It's gone. A home run for Carlton Fisk. Well, they ought to have the green wall out there.
Ooh, that was out of anywhere. Grand Canyon. He got every last bit of that one. Looked like a fastball inside part of the plate, about belt high. They're jumping on him. They know he's got good control. Let's look at Fisk's swing again. Bench appeared to be signaling that he wanted the ball inside, maybe off the strike zone, belt high, and he knew it's gone. Look at Fisk and Johnny look. Foster barely took a look and saw it go, well, halfway up in that first deck there.
What do they call it? The heart of the plate, Marty?
That's right, Kurt. And I'll tell you, for Gary Nolan to be successful, he cannot pitch up in that area.
Here's Fred Lynn, who's had 2 hits in 8 times. They're still buzzing about that tremendous home run by Carlton Fisk, the first homer of this 75 series. Boston leading 1-0. A high fly by Lynn in the left center. Geronimo trotting in for it. 1 away. So in the first inning, Boston hit the ball on the ground. Second inning, they're up in the air. Rico Petroselli, the leading hitter in this series, along with Rick Burleson. Each has had 4 hits and 7 times up. Petroselli's the RBI king, 3 RBIs. Neither club has really worn the ball out. There's a fastball for a call strike. 0-1. So little Perry Como drops behind on the count. 1-0, Boston. He hits a foul ball in back of the Red Sox dugout into the seats.
Can he sing?
No, he can't sing a lick. But that's what we used to call him when he came up. Curveball's hit down in the hole. Base hit in the left field. Nolan hung a curve. Ahead on the count, 1-2. That's a 5th hit for Petroselli, Tony.
Here's an example of what artificial surface can do. It just picks up speed, picks up an overspin on the graininess of this artificial surface. Ordinary grass, Concepcion might have had a shot.
Johnny Bench and Sparky Anderson, I thought, gave us a couple of remarkable interviews in Boston last Sunday during the rain. They were very candid. Strike, and you remember in the interview, Johnny Bench said artificial surface should help Boston because they hit a lot of balls in the ground. And we just saw Petroselli ground that one through. Dwight Evans, 1 out of 6 in this series. 274 hitter for the season. Hits a fly ball, twisting down the right field line. Griffey racing for it and makes the grab right up against the wall. He disappeared out of our view.
That's what Sparky was talking about, raw speed in his outfield. He thinks that Geronimo, and especially Griffey, has more than the Red Sox outfield. He had a long run. He was playing the right center field, which is where Evans hits on occasion.
Fine play by Griffey as he gauged himself and that cushion out there. 2 outs. Petroselli at first. Rick Burleson's had 4 hits, 7 times up. He's a tough out. Pitch of the strike. Looked like might have been his slider. 0-1. He's knocked in 1 run. He was a very capable hitter against the A's, too, in the American League playoffs. That's a check swing. It's 0-2 to the Rooster, Rick Burleson.
Marty, as I recall, Gary Nolan has an excellent change of pace. In fact, 2 of them, but he threw very few against Pittsburgh. Just 3 or 4, according to the scouting reports Boston has.
Tony, we talked about his fastball in that game. Johnny Bench realized he had an exceptional fastball that night and pretty much went with it. He does, I'll tell you, as far as the National League is concerned, he has possibly, or no doubt, one of the top 2, 3 changes in all of the National League.
The count to Burleson's 0-2. They're playing him to the opposite field. Fisk led off this inning with a homer. The Red Sox are leading 1-0. They have Petroselli at first, 2 away. A 2-strike delivery. Teased him with an outside pitch. You talk about control. Listen to this, my friends. This man Nolan walked only 1.2 every 9 innings this year. That is really control. 5 intentional walks in that group. 0-2 to Rick Burleson. The Red Sox pitcher, Rick Wise, due up next in case Burleson gets on. Wise is a good hitting pitcher. Outside, although he hasn't hit in a couple of years. Boy, that was close. Rick Wise. He's got his hitting glasses on. Petrocelli at first, 2 down. 1 ball, 2-strike pitch coming up. There's the changeup. It's beat to shortstop Concepcion. The flip to Morgan. Sides retired. 1 run, 2 hits, no errors, 1 left. At the end of an inning and a half, Boston 1, Cincinnati nothing.
You're watching Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Hey, Sam, listen, I'm nervous about the Mulligan presentation. I mean, how are we going to print out all those color pages, scan in those color logos, capture that frame of video, fax a proof, and make all those color copies by 5? Forget golf today, pal.
The Brother MFC 7000, the total color solution, with all the color versatility you need exactly when you need it.
Sam, it's me again. We've only got 2 more hours. I hope everything's under control. Sam, why aren't you picking up? Sam? Sam!
Most low-price computer ads include legal type, like this, to let you know about all the wonderful things you won't be getting with your computer. Now this system includes everything you need to get started: printer, monitor, and software. It's only $14.99 plus shipping and tax. And best of all, it's from Gateway. Gateway computers feature Intel Pentium processors. Call us at 1-800-GATEWAY and we'll build one for you.
He never chewed tobacco till he was 6. Never had a drink till he was 7. He stole whatever loose change was around the house on his own testimony. And Ruth said once, I was a bad kid. He knew who he was. He knew that he was Babe Ruth. He knew he put the people in the park. He knew that he was the emperor of American baseball.
Bill introduced him to Babe, and do you know what Babe said to the governor of Arkansas? Hello, kid. Glad to meet you. That is his remark. It wasn't glad to know you, governor, or nothing like that. Hello, kid. Glad to know you. Dickie likely fell through a hole. It embarrassed him, see, but that was Babe.
When you figure the things he did, and the way he lived and the way he played, you got to figure he was more than an animal even. There never was anyone like him. And then, in his old man's voice, Joe Dugan said, he was a god.
Strike up the band, college football fans. Classic Sports is giving you a reason for celebration with the greatest games and players in the history of higher education. All the traditions, all the legends, and all the passion. Every Friday night, it's Smash Mouth in-your-face football. So hit the books and look up the words Dynasty, Intensity, and Hail Mary. Phi Beta football, it's a rush. Catch Miami and Florida State in an 87 clash Tuesday at 8 on Classic Sports Network. You're watching the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
In the bottom of the second, the Reds got a runner to third, but failed to score. Now, neither team scored in the third, and the Red Sox came up empty in the top of the fourth. We now join the action with 1 out in the last of the fourth. Red Sox were still ahead, 1-0.
1 out, bases empty. The 1-2 pitch. There's a drive hit in the deep center. Back goes Lynn. He's plenty of room. And the rookie grabs it for his 4th put out of the game.
He's a marvel the way he can take his eye completely off the ball, as so many great outfielders have been able to do, and he's got a chance to be a great outfielder, but he just takes his eye off completely, as you saw, picks the ball right back up in there. Well, some just can't do it and never learn.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You see some come along every now and then, and he was just born to play Major League Baseball. 2 down, nobody on. Tony Perez fly to center his first time up. A high breaking pitch missing. Ball 1. To join us late, Carlton Fisk smashed a home run to left field to lead off the second inning, and that's been it. 1-0 Red Sox. The count is 2-0 in favor of the batter. No hits so far by the Reds, but 2 down in the 4th. They've had 1 base runner, Foster, who walked. They're playing deep. Boy, look at that Burleson, deep for Perez. He's playing a shallow left field. There's a strike. Look how deep Burleson's playing Perez, Tony.
That'll show you what kind of confidence he has in his arm. He has an excellent throwing arm. He isn't as fast as Concepcion. He's quick.
2 balls and a strike to Tony Perez. 2 out, nobody on. Three and 1 count. Now Wise asks for a new ball. Johnny Bench on deck.
They bunch Perez in the outfield. They really give him the left and right field foul lines.
Bench watching Wise intently. 3-1 pitch. He walked him. That's the second walk given up by Wise. Here's Johnny Bench coming up. He grounded out to third in his first trip. Bench is a great ambassador for the game. He's very personable, gracious to fans all over. There goes the runner. The throw down. And he's out. Safe. Perez steals.
I'll tell you, it's very, very surprising, Tony. You expect to see the likes of Griffey and Concepcion and Morgan and people like that, but certainly not Tony Perez.
That was sort of a delayed steal. I think he caught Fisk by surprise. Now they're roaring here with the unlikely sight of Tony Perez stealing second. 2 down. That wakes the Red fans up. And Bench hits a fly deep to left. Going, gone.
It didn't take long for the Reds to come back in this game. Johnny Bench, nice room service, high curveball. He knew what to do with it, didn't he?
You don't make mistakes to good hitters, and Johnny Bench got one that he liked, and he took care of it. But that Reds ball club, they were great. They scored almost 100 more runs than the second place team behind them, the Philadelphia Phillies, in that run department. That's almost a run more per game when you think about it. And the supremacy that they had during the 70s, 6 divisional titles. You think about the great teams in the history of the game, the Big Red Machine, the Reds were certainly one of them. But Johnny Bench, he put the Reds up on top at that time, 2-1. And, well, hey, you get good players like that, and you're going to see good things.
Manager, yes. You're going to win. As a catcher, you're playing the Reds. They always say we're going to walk certain guys to get to a certain guy. Who would you'd have to walk 8 guys to get to the guy you wanted.
Well, that's just it. I mean, the Reds had a very dominant lineup with Pete Rose and Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, and even some of the other guys like Griffey and Geronimo and Concepcion. I mean, they had a good ball club, so you couldn't really pitch around too many of the guys. You were just hoping that you'd get good pitching and make some good pitches.
Gary, how many times in a meeting have you heard, don't let so-and-so beat you?
A lot of times, but basically it's the guy in the heart of the lineup. It seems as though it's the big home run. But how about this lineup? I know, that's it. But the thing is that when you go over a scouting report, you basically talk about how to pitch one person. But a guy that's hot, and Johnny Bench is one of those kind of players that played his best, it seemed like, at All-Star games or World Series games. That's the guy you didn't want to have.
All right, it's the 8th or 9th inning.
Okay.
Who don't you want on base?
Well, I don't want Pete Rose on base. In that particular series, Pete Rose, he was a nemesis on the base paths, I thought. And even though Davey Concepcion might have had better speed and all, Pete Rose is the one guy I wouldn't have wanted on base.
Okay. Now, George Foster grounded out to end the bottom of the 4th. In the top of the 5th, Red starter Gary Nolan had to leave with a stiff neck. Pat Darcy came on in relief and kept the Red Sox from scoring. When we come back, the Reds try to pad their 2-1 lead in the bottom of the 5th.
You're watching Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Still shaving with blades? We know how you feel about that. The Norelco Reflex Action Razor. Anything closer could be too close for comfort.
Being a catcher's no walk in the park. Take Mike Piazza. This guy's a human target for a flamethrower who can reach speeds up to 100 miles an hour. Even foul tips to the mask go with the territory. And he's got to call pitches, handle pickoffs, pitch outs, and pop-ups. Not to mention human freight trains hurtling toward him. Spikes first. Try telling Mike Piazza baseball isn't a contact sport.
I wanted a drafting career where I could draw more than just a good salary. Computers are the future of drafting, and I'm part of it. I trained in computer-aided drafting at ITT Technical Institute. ITT Tech could mean a successful future for you, too.
For an informative brochure, call ITT Tech at 1-800-791-2908. That's 1-800-791-2908.
Welcome to the future of drafting.
Wow, I bet the guys that run this stuff spent years in school.
No, you might be surprised.
So what are the chances of me getting to work here?
Well, first of all, you gotta love to draw.
And second?
And second, you gotta call ITT Tech.
For an informative brochure, call ITT Tech at 1-800-791-2908. That's 1-800-791-2908.
Watch Classic Sports. It's the greatest of all time.
My cable company just picked it up. You'll come over.
Cool.
And this time, bring chips.
I'm calling my cable company. I gotta get Classic Sports, and you can't stop me.
Classic Sports, Classic Sports.
Yes, we just got Classic Sports. We got it.
Hey, all these guys get it.
So don't leave your friends out in the cold. Spread the word about Classic Sports Network today. We now return to Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Slides concludes his warm-ups to catcher Carlton Fisk. Dave Concepcion will stroll plateward for his second shot at the Boston right-hander tonight. Davey is 0 for 1 at a fly ball to right field his first time up. 1 for 9 so far in this 1975 World Series. This young man has as his goal to be the best Venezuelan shortstop in the history of Major League Baseball. And well, you're talking about Tony Chico Carrasquel and Louis Aparicio as forerunners.
Talk about Aparicio, you're talking about something.
First pitch on the inside part of the plate for a taken strike. Concepcion questioning plate umpire Larry Barnett about that pitch. This guy closed out the season very, very strong. In fact, he had .340 the final month of the year and closed out the year with a 9-game hitting streak. He hits one a ton back into left center field. Looking up is Yastrzemski and gone. A home run. David Concepcion taking the grand tour as he takes Rick Wise downtown with a shot to left center field. And, well, the Reds go out in front 3-1.
No matter what happens the rest of this ball game, win or lose, the headlines in the Venezuelan papers are going to be Concepcion, and that's front page. That's what happened in the championship series when he homered against Pittsburgh. You mentioned those two names, Carrasquel and Aparicio, played against both Marty and Kurt. Concepcion has more all-round ability than either of them. All-round.
For the bat and the glove you're talking about.
Here's Cesar Geronimo now as Concepcion homers to begin the 5th inning for Cincinnati, and we have activity underway in the Boston Red Sox bullpen as a right-hander and a left-hander gets up to begin throwing. Geronimo bounced out to second his first time. He is ahead of the count at 2 balls and no strikes.
Right-hander Reggie Cleveland, left-hander Jim Burton.
So Darrell Johnson has seen Rick Wise give up a pair of long ones. One by bench in the last inning with a man on, and now by Concepcion. The only 2 Cincinnati base hits up to this point have been home runs. There's a call strike. Through 4+ innings, Wise has not struck out anybody. He has walked 2. There's manager Darrell Johnson. The Boston Red Sox, he has seen his team now trailing 3-1, and that for Concepcion, his first World Series home run. Pitch backs him off the plate as Wise comes high and tight. It's ball 3. 3-1 the count to Geronimo. On deck for Cincinnati is pitcher Pat Darcy. Wise needs a strike. Geronimo a pitch away from a walk. He swings. He hits one back into deep right field. Going back is Devins, and it's out of here. Well, Kurt and Tony, Cincinnati putting on a long ball exhibition here as they have had 3 hits off Rick Wise, and all of them home runs.
And what great contributions the Latin American ball players have made to this club. Bench hit a home run today, but it was Perez who stole second base. May have rattled Wise. Concepcion and Geronimo with home runs. Darrell Johnson.
Well, in Boston, Sparky Anderson during that rain time said, we've had a kiddie car running around here, not the big red machine. And you can't win with a half run a game, but we're going to get going and swing that bat. You don't win 108 games and hit the ball like the Reds did in Boston. They have shown tonight how they can swing the bat.
Well, surprisingly, Darrell Johnson has elected to leave Rick Wise in the ball game, although he keeps the 2 pitchers warming up down in the Boston bullpen.
Jim Burton, the left-hander. Reggie Cleveland, the right-hander.
So back-to-back home runs in the Cincinnati 5th inning by Davey Concepcion and Cesar Geronimo, the 7 and 8 batters in the Reds lineup. Here's Darcy up for the first time. He takes a healthy cut and does not get it.
Those are not ordinary 7 and 8 batters, and you know it, Marty.
I'll agree with that, Tony. Pat Darcy up for his first time. He came on in relief of Gary Nolan. And quickly behind to Rick Wise as pitcher faces pitcher, 2 strikes. The crowd here at Riverfront Stadium, and they've got standing room only here tonight, still buzzing on the back-to-backers by the Cincinnati Reds. Very quiet, subdued crowd the first 3+ innings. The Reds were not doing anything to speak of, but all of a sudden they come to life and lead 4-1 here. Here's strike 3 call as Larry Barnett emphatically calls Pat Darcy out on strikes, and that's the first of the game for Rick Wise.
Rick Wise is facing a dubious record that I know he doesn't want to tie. The record for the most home runs allowed by a pitcher in a World Series game is 4. Charlie Root gave up 4 in 32 for the Cubs. Gene Thompson for the Reds in 39, and Dick Hughes with the Cards in 1967. Wise has allowed 3 in this game.
Here's a man they refer to as Charlie Hustle. Pete Rose up for the 3rd time, and he bluffs a bunt, and it's strike 1 to him as he turns around and comes back questioning Larry Barnett. The Red Sox have out-hit the Reds 4-3, but the Reds have had 3 homers. 2-run shot in the 4th by Perez, and a bench rather, and back-to-back homers in the 5th inning by Concepcion and Geronimo. Strike 2 is called to Rose. Jim Burton and Reggie Cleveland continuing to heat up in the Boston Red Sox bullpen. The speckled Rick Wise looking into Carlton Fisk to get the sign. Rose goes the other way with a pitch, but hits a high, towering foul ball well back in the seats along the left field line.
No, Marty, every year we get new fans watching the World Series. I imagine some of them are saying, has this ever happened before? 2 players, one right behind the other, hit home runs. This happened 7 times before.
7 times in World Series competition, back-to-back home runs. Thought maybe Tony was involved.
Not me, boy.
Well, the crowd getting on Rick Wise a little bit. Things not going at all well for him as he drops a throwback from Carlton Fisk. Throws it a hold and holding it 2 strikes. On deck for Cincinnati is right fielder Ken Griffey. One ball and 2 strikes on the waiting Rose. That one is hit hard into right center. Lynn racing back, still on the run. He cannot play it. Rose coming to second as Dwight Evans picks up the ball, and Rose will go in standing up with a 3-base hit. Well, the extra base hits are ringing out off the bats of the Cincinnati Reds.
And we saw what Sparky Anderson prophesied. He said if they play shallow like they did in Fenway, they're going to get hurt. The ball was hit very hard, a line drive, and watch Charlie Hustle, as you just called him, hustle right from home plate.
He hit the ball very well, Tony, and as you pointed out, you simply cannot play shallow in this ballpark. Freddie Lynn playing shallow, and a deep blast to center by Pete Rose, and actually a stand-up three-base hit for him. Well, Darrell Johnson is back to the Riverfront Stadium mound for the second time in the inning, and that means that is going to be all for Rick Wise. The left-hander Jim Burton is going to come out of the Red Sox bullpen as he makes a slow walk from the visitors' bullpen here at Riverfront Stadium along the left field line. So there's a break in the action here at Cincinnati. The score, the Reds 4, the Boston Red Sox 1.
We'll be right back with more of Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
It's in a jar, in the car, in a drawer, on the floor. It's all over the place. So where's your loose change? Well, it's time to cash in with the Money Wrapper, the automated coin machine that sorts, stacks, counts, and wraps your loose change in one easy step. You simply drop a handful of loose change into the Money Wrapper and watch. First, it switches on automatically. The Money Wrapper starts to spin and separates the coins. Then they're down the chute where they're sorted. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. Each coin drops into its own removable tube where it's stacked and counted. It's that simple. You just place the coin wrapper in the bank, and each counted coin is automatically wrapped by the Money Wrapper. Now it's a breeze to turn loose change into hard cash. And when it's all done, the Money Wrapper shuts off by itself, and you're left with sorted, stacked, counted, and wrapped piles of money. It's real money. Stop throwing it away. Just drop it in the Money Wrapper, and it does the rest. Neat, clean rolls of coins, sorted, stacked, counted, and wrapped at a rate of hundreds of coins per minute. So sit back and count your cash. And that's not all. When it's time to cash in, you simply pull the lever and the coins pop out in their neat stacks. So call and get your Money Wrapper today. The precision automated bank that sorts, stacks, counts, and wraps your loose change. And now, at the incredible breakthrough price of only $24.95. Heads or tails, you win. So stop throwing your money away and start growing your money today. The Money Wrapper. It's fast, accurate, convenient, even fun. It's a great way to get that loose change all wrapped up. The Money Wrapper. It makes perfect sense.
Call 1-800-207-4411 to order your Money Wrapper for $24.95 plus $5.95 shipping. Or send check or money order to Money Wrapper, 60 East State Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Call 1-800-207-4411. That's 1-800-207-4411.
You're watching the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Now the Boston infield comes in with the Reds having already struck for 2 runs on back-to-back home runs. Pete Rose at third base with a triple, and there you see Ken Griffey stepping in to try and get Rose in with a 5th Cincinnati run. Left-hander against left-hander, and the fastball is up high. Pete Rose at third base. He hit one and hit it a ton to center field. Freddie Lynn really appeared to get an excellent jump on the ball, but the ball just going over his outstretched glove.
Graham is getting a lot of signs down at third.
Here's a 1-0 delivery, and that's high and outside. 2 balls and no strikes on the Cincinnati right fielder, native of Denora, Pennsylvania, Ken Griffey.
A lot of those signs, in fact, most of them are decoys. Kramis wants to put it into the minds of the Red Sox that there's a possibility of a squeeze play. Burton pitching from the stretch.
Griffey 0 for 2, a bouncing ball to second, a fly ball to center field. And he takes a strike at the letters from the left-hander Burton. 2-1. The Reds and the Red Sox splitting 2 at Fenway Park in Boston. Tiant shutting out Cincinnati on 5 hits, 6-0 Saturday. The Reds scoring 2 in the 9th inning Sunday. The score a come from behind 3-2 win, and now trying to go up 2-1 in the 3rd game of this 1975 World Series. Rose taking his edge off the bag at third. And Griffey takes it high and inside as he backpedals away from the plate. Joe Morgan going back to the dugout to talk with manager Sparky Anderson. He's the on-deck hitter.
I wonder if he was reading a little, giving a little mini scouting report to Morgan as to what Burton throws.
3 balls and 1 strike. Boston infield in with 1 out, 2 runs across, and Pete Rose occupying the third base bag. Burton with a pitch, and Griffey is on with a walk. Tony, you talk about Sparky Anderson maybe giving Joe Morgan a bit of information concerning Jim Burton. These two clubs, of course, scouted each other well. Ray Shore for Cincinnati, the Red Super Scout Frank Malzone, Eddie Casco, both seeing Cincinnati and a whole lot of them during the last month or so of the season. Joe Morgan standing in a run-producing situation. He's had a couple of hits and 9 times in this series, but 0 for 2 tonight, with consecutive fly balls to center field. Petrocelli playing about even with a bag and well off the line at third. Burleson and the second baseman Doyle a double play depth. Here's a throw to first base. Griffey not taking much of a lead to speak of.
Burton not known to have a good move to first base, and he's a little bit slow going to home. He's tall and lanky, and many times that is a problem holding men on for a pitcher.
Well, Jim Burton bound and determined to keep Griffey as close to the bag as he possibly can. Ken Griffey will run. He had 3 stolen bases in the League Championship Series sweep over Pittsburgh.
That's right. I was about to point out they had 10 out of 10 against the Pirates. 10 stolen bases in 10 attempts.
Well, make it 3 in a row that he's gone that way. Four to 1 the score. Cincinnati over Boston. The Red Sox spotting him a run, or rather the Reds spotting him a run in the second on a Carlton Fisk homer. And the Reds have played long ball 3 times to jump out in front 4-1. Burton eyeing Griffey at first base. To the plate to Morgan. Swing and a miss. Morgan went to hacking on the first pitch to the plate.
The Red fans have had little to cheer about in World Series here in recent years. The Reds have lost 5 out of 6 games at Riverfront Stadium since the new ballpark was built. But tonight they're roaring every time they've got the shot, and they've had some.
Burton, after again throwing on to first base, now looking down to Carlton Fisk as the Boston catcher hangs aside. Long look. 1 ball and 1 strike to Morgan.
Marty, would you say, as we look at Pete Rose at third and Griffey at first, that Griffey has the best raw speed on this club?
Oh, there's no question about it, Tony, and Joe Morgan will tell you that himself. In a straightaway 100-yard dash, Ken Griffey will defeat anybody fairly easily on this club. Morgan out in front, 2-1.
He really hasn't learned to steal. He does most of it now on sheer speed, doesn't he?
Joe Morgan constantly talked to him during the season of watching the opposing pitcher when you're in the dugout. Get involved in the game to that extent. That's the key to Joe Morgan's success.
He's almost like a player coach in this team.
He's amazing, Kurt. He has tremendous baseball knowledge, easily conveys it. A lot of people think he'd be a great manager one day. Here's a fly ball hit well to right field. That ball is going to be a foul ball. Well, Dwight Evans could do nothing but watch that ball and hope that it stayed foul, which it did.
Joe Morgan, Sparky was telling me yesterday, he does not like men running off first base on him. He does with 2 strikes on a hitter. He gives him the okay. But he says it distracts his concentration.
Burton back of the mound rubbing up the baseball, and
here we'll see that last line drive foul and see what the base runners do on this. Watch Rose with 1 out. He'll go back immediately to tag up in case the ball is caught. Griffey going about halfway, seeing whether it was going to be fair or not.
2-2, the count on Morgan. And now Burton has gone full to him, and that pitch right there is a pretty good example of the tremendous discipline this man has at the plate, although it was interesting to note when Sparky Anderson announced yesterday that He was moving Morgan back into the number 3 position, that he'd be a little bit more reckless in that spot than he would be in the number 2 position, and that he would go after pitches that normally he might not hit going at number 2.
An RBI spot, not a walk spot.
Burton, before delivering the payoff pitch, again throws on to Cooper at first base. Good close-up shot of the young rookie left-hander Jim Burton for Boston. Morgan with a fly ball into straightaway center field. Now Rose tagging at third. Here's Lynn coming in to make the catch. Here's a throw to the plate, and it will not be in time. The Reds go out in front 5-1. Sacrifice fly for Joe Morgan.
New Red Sox pitcher Reggie Cleveland struck out Tony Perez to end the inning. And when we come back, Boston tries to chip away at Cincinnati's 4-run lead.
You're watching Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports. Legends of the Fall is brought to you by Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
If I ran the post office, there'd be a way to send paperwork and merchandise overseas that gets attention. Something that says, open me. I'm important. But it's gotta save money, real money. And go to all my key markets. Plus it would have value, it'd be reliable, and fast.
Global Priority Mail. It's happening at your U.S. Postal Service. We deliver.
Still shaving with blades? We know how you feel about that. The Norelco Reflex Action Razor. Anything closer could be too close for comfort. It has a lubricating comfort strip. And for a lot of guys, that's not much comfort. The Norelco Reflex Action Razor. Any could be too close for comfort.
It's challenging. That's what I love about it. I trust my instincts.
It's different running your own business.
My work is everything. It's pure adrenaline.
Every decision comes down to you. It takes confidence. It gives me a sense of pride.
It calls on resources you never knew you had. Like the Gold Corporate Card from American Express.
Call now and apply right over the phone.
Because control is in the details. You get quarterly reports by category.
It simplifies bookkeeping.
Small business savings, like 3% off mobile gas, 10% off UPS overnight delivery, up to 15% off Hertz, and up to 25% off Hilton hotels.
It adds up.
And we put your company's name on the card because you are the company.
I like what it says
People
about
recognize it. It's the best card to have.
Every day, more than 1 million small business owners rely on the corporate card. See how it can help you.
It's hard to do business without it.
Call 1-800-SUCCESS now.
We'll take your application right over the phone.
The Gold Corporate Card. Let American Express give your business the power to do more.
Classic Sports Network, where the legends play ball. We now return to Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Kenny Doyle will open up the Boston Red Sox 6th inning, and the Red Sox, well, they're down by 4 runs. In this, the 3rd game of the World Series and the first of 3 straight nights of World Series action here in Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium. Matt Darcy misses with a first pitch down low.
And so far, the Red Sox first 3 batters in the lineup have not reached base.
That's right, Kurt. Cooper 0 for 3, Doyle 0 for 2 as he pops it foul, third base side. Rose and Concepcion, and Pete Rose cruises it for the out.
It has been tough all year long, and it will be tough again today for a team to come from behind with that great bullpen that Cincinnati has, and of course Sparky uses it. He doesn't waste any time.
None whatsoever, and this is the first World Series appearance, of course, for right-hander Pat Darcy. Reds were almost invincible in this ballpark, winning 64 and losing only 17. That's not counting the wins that they had here against the Pittsburgh Pirates, 2 straight, in the National League Championship Series. 2 balls and no strikes, a count on the left fielder Carl Yastrzemski. He's 0 for 2 and has hit ground balls both times, once to Morgan and once to Tony Perez. Yastrzemski now 2 for 9 in the World Series. Waiting Pat Darcy out as he comes with a fastball that goes to 3-0. On deck for the Boston Red Sox, catcher Carlton Fisk, who has accounted for the only Red Sox run with that homer back in the second. Fastball over on the 3-0 pitch. Darcy has not worked in a game since the 27th of September, and then only 2/3 of an inning in relief. Yaz is on with a 1-out walk.
That ought to be enough for Sparky to get somebody going.
Well, I'll tell you, Tony and Kurt.
You're right.
You're right. Absolutely
there goes
right.
The warm-up action.
Yastrzemski gets a walk. Clay Carroll goes down to the Reds bullpen to begin throwing for what will be the second time tonight.
I don't blame him with the job that he got from his 2 veterans, Carroll and Barbone, and the 2 kids, Eastwick and McEnany.
Fisk has been on both times. The home run in the second, then he drew a walk from Gary Nolan in the 4th inning. The Reds infield looks for the ground ball with 1 out and 1 on. And Darcy having trouble finding the strike zone. Cincinnati 5, Boston 1. Each club has had 4 hits, but all 4 for Cincinnati have been extra base hits, 3 homers and a triple. Strike to him.
You look at this record of the Cincinnati team, 20-game winning margin, 108 wins, their fantastic home record, yet they went 45 games in a row without a complete game.
Sparky felt like that was a misleading figure, Kurt, because of the fact that he had such a deep, deep bullpen. Here's a check swing foul ball. Sparky Anderson and his philosophy in terms of pitching, he feels if he gets a good effort out of his starting pitcher for 7 innings, if he can help it, he's not going to let him lose a ball game.
It's pretty much the modern thinking all around now.
And there go the batting averages because of it. Knocked off a few points with specialists, relief specialists, defensive specialists.
Can't win without a good relief, not man, but a couple or 3.
It's been the salvation for the Cincinnati club, I'll tell you. Darcy ahead of the hitter. Misses low and inside to Fisk. 2-2 now. In the inning, Doyle has popped out foul ground to Pete Rose, and Yastrzemski has drawn a walk. Now a timeout call by the right field foul line umpire, Nick Colosi. The ball apparently got loose out of the Cincinnati bullpen. Darcy taking his time. Perez playing off the bag and behind the runner at first, and now it's down in the dirt and it's a full count. So Pat Darcy rapidly pitching himself into a problematical situation in the 6th inning. And again, as we mentioned, he's not worked since the 27th of September, and certainly that could have something to do with his possible control problems. There's another walk as he's given up back-to-backers to Yastrzemski and Fisk.
Marty, is Johnny Bench still cutting the middle inside of his glove up when he gets the glove? Have you noticed that he does that?
I don't think he's doing it anymore, Tony. I know he used to do it, but I don't believe he's doing it anymore.
I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. A little bit looser, able to bend it more because he has a one-handed catcher, easier for him to break in.
Sparky Anderson a little bit concerned right now in the Cincinnati dugout, as Darcy has put a couple of runners on the easy way, walks to Yastrzemski and to Fisk. Here's Freddie Lynn, and his ball 1 to him.
You know, he made a great statement tonight. He said in Boston he'd never been treated as nice by an organization as the Red Sox. Of course, I want to win the World Series, but we also want a great World Series.
Ran the pitch in on him, a call strike.
This is our showcase.
He told me the same thing earlier tonight, Kurt signing balls down in the Reds dressing room. He said, we want to win this series, but we want to promote baseball. Right-hander Jim Willoughby is going down to begin throwing for Boston as Lynn fouls the pitch back to the netting, and he's down to Darcy at 1-2.
And he had the pitch he wanted, too, right in his wheelhouse. Little up and in. There's Willoughby. Quite a story for the Red Sox. Had a great streak, helping them toward their Eastern Division championship. Came up from Tulsa. Recommendation of Kenny Boyer.
Runners leading at first and second base with one out. Lynn, a foul strike off to the left and out of here. Kurt, I don't know that there's been a rookie for many, many years that has so dominated a league as Fred Lynn. Of course, Jim Rice also.
Rice came strong the last 2 months.
That one a bouncer that gets by Johnny Bench, and both runners will advance.
He scored a wild pitch. No chance. Johnny got down, tried to keep it in front, but the ball bounced way out in front, and when you get a breaking ball, it takes a little bit spin and sometimes bounces away.
Well, a big meeting on the mound right now. Pat Darcy, he'll joined there by Joe Morgan and shortstop Davey Concepcion as they talk it over. This has been all Darcy's doing with the 2 walks and now a wild pitch. Red Sox trailing by 4 runs, but a base hit here from Freddie Lynn could get him to within striking distance again. Sparky Anderson talking with his pitching coach Larry Shepard. Clay Carroll continuing to heat in the Reds' pen. Well, he just did get a piece of the ball to stay alive.
Looks like he's got a good natural sinker. That ball went down a lot.
He does, Tony, and his fastball simply explodes at home plate. When he's throwing the good hard stuff, he's got a good moving fastball. Outfield giving Lynn quite a bit of room in left center field. He went after a high pitch and hits it very high into left center. Foster, Geronimo, it's going to be Foster. Here's a tag at third. Here's a throw to the plate. And it'll not be in time, and the Red Sox are on the board for the second time tonight.
Well, as we just saw, the heart of the Boston's lineup manufacturing a run. The Big Red Machine may have had a potent lineup, but the Red Sox were pretty formidable themselves. They had some pretty good hitters. Yastrzemski, Lynn. I mean, Lynn had a tremendous year.
He was Rookie of the Year and MVP, kind of a surprise, but even Carl Yastrzemski had a tremendous league championship series against the Oakland A's, hit .455, played left field. So really the biggest thing here is that the Cincinnati Reds had the World Series experience. The Boston Red Sox had not, but they still led the league in average, runs scored, and doubles, the Boston Red Sox did. So it was really a pretty good matchup.
Once the series starts, I mean, the game, the actual game, don't you get the feeling it's another big game? I mean, before that, I can understand. I was only in one back in '46. But, I mean, once the game starts, so how important is experience?
I think experience helps when you play a full 7-game series, I would think, that it's when it comes down to bottom line. But you're right, any team at any given time could probably play just as well as anyone when playing the big games. So experience helps somewhat, but if you have talent on the team and you have guys that can knock in runs and you got a pitcher that happens to be hot in one particular series, you can win the World Series.
Fred Lynn didn't need any experience. He had a pretty good year. He had a pretty good World Series.
He had a tremendous World Series, but overall, his batting average hit over .330. The home runs, RBIs, he was no question the Rookie of the Year, and then turned out to be also the MVP.
Rico Petrocelli grounded out to end the top of the 6th, and the Reds went down in order in their half of the inning. Now, when we return, it's the top of the 7th, as the Red Sox turn to their bench to try to close the 3-run gap.
We'll be right back with more of Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
We all inhabit a place that frankly gets on our nerves. We got to get out of that place. And a celebrity cruise can get us out of that place. Celebrity Cruises, exceeding expectations. Awarded 5 stars by Fieldings and the top premium cruise line rating by Berlitz.
If I ran the post office, there'd be a way to send paperwork and merchandise overseas that gets attention. Something that says, open me. I'm important. But it's gotta save money. Real money. And go to all my key markets. Plus it would have value. It'd be reliable. And fast.
Global Priority Mail. It's happening at your U.S. Postal Service. We deliver.
Hey, Sam, listen, I'm nervous about the Mulligan presentation. I mean, how are we going to print out all those color pages, scan in those color logos, capture that frame of video, fax a proof, and make all those color copies? High five. Forget golf today, pal.
The Brother MFC 7000, the total color solution, with all the color versatility you need, exactly when you need it.
Sam, it's me again. We've only got 2 more hours. I hope everything's under control. Sam, why aren't you picking up? Sam? Sam!
Still shaving with blades? We know how you feel about that. The Norelco Reflex Action Razor. Anything closer could be too close for comfort. It has a lubricating comfort strip. And for a lot of guys, that's not much comfort. The Norelco Reflex Action Razor. Anything closer could be too close for comfort.
Classic Sports Network, the greatest new network in the history of sports.
You're watching the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
The first pitch misses from Pat Darcy, and well, we've got activity in both bullpens. For the Boston Red Sox, that's right-hander Jim Willoughby throwing. Swung on, a bouncing ball up the middle. Concepcion cannot get it. That is hit number 5 for the Boston Red Sox. Evans quickly coming back into first base as the throw goes that way.
Here's Evans going nicely with the pitch. Concepcion was playing him a little bit up the middle. Another one of those. We've repeated it before. An artificial surface. Scoots right on by him.
That'll bring up Rick Burleson and Sparky Anderson on his way to the mound, and before he ever reaches the first base foul line, he signals that he wants a right-hander, Clay Carroll. So Clay Carroll will be coming on in a saving situation as Darcy heads back toward the Cincinnati dugout. Clay Carroll ready to go to work now on Rick Burleson, and he gets the first pitch over for a taken strike. This is second game of this 1975 World Series. He did not record an out in coming on in relief of Don Gullett in Game 1 Saturday at Fenway Park, and his 11th appearance lifetime in series competition. He's 0-2 with Burleson, and again Bernie Carbo in the on-deck circle to bat for pitcher Reggie Cleveland.
And with those left-handers coming up, Carbo followed by Cooper, Doyle, and Yastrzemski. The Reds have McEnany, their left-handed reliever, warming up.
Evans leading at first base, nobody out. Trying to get him to go after a breaking ball out away from him, but Burleson not having any of it. There's McEnany, young man from Springfield, Ohio, who just a few days ago became a father for the first time. The Red Sox trying to battle back. They're down by 3 big ones in the 7th. Swung on. That could be 2. Morgan, Concepcion, Perez.
And that is a highly underrated part of this total team the Cincinnati Reds have. Morgan and Concepcion. We've said it before, but they just might be the best all-around ever to play the game around second base, and that takes in a lot of territory.
They talk about the Reds' power. They set a major league record this year. They played 15 consecutive games without making an error. They had the fewest errors in their league. So they do it both ways, what you have to do in any sport to win.
Here's Bernie Carbo batting for Reggie Cleveland, and this is somewhat of a homecoming of sorts, and he hits one well back into left field. Foster looking, and it's out of here.
That's a typical Carbo home run to the opposite field. He thought it was a ground rule double.
He thought it bounced, did he? Come on, Bertie.
He hit his home runs at Crosley Field when he first came up.
We know you're excited. You know, he came out yesterday at the workout and stirred up a little controversy. He thought that he should be playing back here in Cincinnati, that Yastrzemski should go back to first base. He should be in left field. Yaz got a little bit irritated, we understand, with it. There's Foster going back. Marty Brenneman pointed out that yellow line as he went around the park early in the game, just barely made it.
He really has power to the opposite field for a left-hander.
Here comes Sparky Anderson again. He's wearing out a path from the dugout to the mound, and he's going to bring on the left-hander McEnany, apparently, to pitch to the left-handed batting Cecil Cooper. Well, there you got a look at 23-year-old Will McEnany, 5-2 on the year for Cincinnati, and he led this club in appearances, coming out of the Reds bullpen a total of 70 times. He'll be working to the left-handed batting Cooper with 2 down. The pitch to him swung on, a jam job that he bloops into shallow left center, and that's the inning. For the Boston Red Sox in the 7th inning, they get a run on a couple of hits, the home run by Bernie Carbo. And at the end of 6 1/2, it's the Reds 5 and the Red Sox 3.
You're watching Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Lads, British men of war passing Skull Point. Prime the cannon.
Arr, I can see my room from here.
Let me show you my Vegas.
Nice enough to light the whole place up for me.
First time to Vegas?
Yes. And you?
My third. My 44th trip.
Winner, winner, lobster dinner.
Tomatillo.
People are so exciting.
Mine's the blue convertible.
And you, my lad, have to walk the plank.
No need to spit.
Anything, all the time. That's Las Vegas.
The grace.
Oh my God, watching him is graceful. Everything he did was easy for him.
The glamour.
There was a matinee idol quality to him that you usually associate with the film business.
The all-American hero.
You're looking for a hero, something to believe in. That's what Joe was.
From reluctant star to reclusive legend.
He lived for baseball.
For those who saw him play, it will always be summer. Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio? Premieres Monday, October 20th on HBO.
Is cocaine crack or is crack cocaine?
You were going to talk to her?
You were going to talk to her.
I think it's time that we had a little talk. We'll talk about it later.
No, it's time. It's important.
If you had any questions you wanted to ask me, honey, you would ask your father, wouldn't you? Right.
I'm just going to tell my kid that if he ever tries it, I'll kill him. All right?
That's sensitive, Al.
If you need help talking to your kids about drugs, call for this free book.
Many have witnessed its awesome power. It is a strategic device of immense importance. It can bring into range an entire nation, a single neighborhood, or any segment of the populace. And most remarkable of all, it's growing even stronger as advertisers and viewers use it in record numbers. From Main Street to Madison Avenue, America's sold on cable.
To advertise your business locally, call Cable Rep Advertising at 660-0500.
Study years gone by, you could watch Truman's surprise win over Dewey in 1948. Or check out the surprise win of the Miracle Mets in the 1969 World Series. You could study Nixon's near-perfect sweep in the 1972 election. Or watch total perfection as the 72 Dolphins become the NFL's only undefeated team. If you see history a little differently, watch the Classic Years in Sports, Sunday and Thursday at 7, only on Classic Sports Network. We now return to Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Well, the Reds failed to score in the bottom of the 7th. Neither team scored in the 8th. Let's rejoin the game with 1 out in the top of the 9th, and the Red Sox were still trailing 5-3, and they were in need of some heroics.
McEnany and Eastwood remind me a lot of Mossy and Narleski in the 50s when they came up with Cleveland.
Here's a base hit to center field by Rico Petrocelli, who continues to swing a very, very potent bat for the Red Sox in this series.
Now we got the tying run coming up with a left-hander to face a right-hander. Comes Sparky.
Sparky Anderson, a busy man, going from dugout to pitcher's mound tonight, is once again sending down the call, and this time it's going to be right-hander Raleigh Eastwood. McEnany giving up a one-out single to center by Rico Petrocelli, and as Tony mentioned, that brings a tie and run to the plate. Batter will be Dwight Evans when we get back to the action. Petrocelli at first. The man at the plate is Dwight Evans, and he represents the tying run. It's 5-3 Reds, as Boston now has out-hit Cincinnati 7-5, and Pedro Bourbon, a right-hander, picks up where Eastwick left off. Evans 1 for 3. Pitch. That's low a ball. There's Bourbon.
Sparky's got a pitcher for every batter.
I'll tell you, he's used just about everybody with the exception of Bourbon, Kurt. Fred Norman expected to be utilized as a reliever in the series, but he has not thrown tonight. Here's a fly ball hit into left field. Foster back on the warning track, and he will not get it. It's a home run and a tie ball game. Raleigh Eastwick has just given up a game-tying ninth-inning home run to Dwight Evans. As the Red Sox dugout erupts, they have tied it up at 5-all.
And we've just had an all-time World Series record tied. 6 home runs, 3 by each team tonight. The Red Sox made quite a comeback. Cleveland and Willoughby kept them in the ball game with their relief pitching. They were trailing 5-1, and now they've tied it.
Gary, you know what it's like to hit a clutch home run in the World Series. Relive it for me.
Well, I'll tell you, I was fortunate enough in Game 4 in the 1986 World Series to hit a couple of home runs, and it's an exhilarating feeling. And I guess that Dwight Evans, thinking at that time, down by 2 runs, 9th inning, facing the closer in Raleigh Eastwick, I mean, you're just thinking, hey, I want to make contact. And when you make contact, then you're thinking, does it have a chance to get out? And as George Foster was drifting after that ball, and it found its way over the wall, and then you start running around the bases, I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It is the greatest feeling in the world. Oh, tremendous high.
Dwight Evans, to me, is really one of the underrated baseball players. He hits that clutch home run, and yet, with everything that happened in this series, it kind of got lost.
Yeah, it really did, because also in the 1986 World Series, he had a great series there, 9 RBIs, but not only was Dewey a good offensive player, and he would get some clutch home runs and some clutch hits during the season and all, but he was a great outfielder, won a lot of Gold Gloves.
Oh, and he showed in this series. But let's see if the Red Sox added to their lead as Rick Burleson came to the plate, 1 out, and the bases are empty.
Now it's Rick Burleson at the plate. 1 hit and 3 times up. A ball to him. Boston dugout just now settling down as they welcomed Evans in. 1 ball and 1 strike as Eastwick comes with fire to the Boston shortstop.
That was a clutch home run right there, folks. Foster still thought he had a chance as we look at Dwight Evans' home run again. There he gives up. A little despair as he caresses that wall.
2 runs across for the Red Sox to tie it up. Here's a fly ball into shallow center. Morgan back. He cannot get it. Morgan trying to play it all the way, ranging back into shallow center field, but Burleson dumps it in. And now the Red Sox have the go-ahead run on. And the pitcher, Jim Willoughby, getting a word as he heads toward the plate from third base coach Don Zimmer.
He's probably telling Willoughby if the bunt is on, which direction to bunt it. Rose will be charging hard at third. It's difficult to bunt in artificial surface because the ball gets to the infielder so fast. The place you'd like to go is to the first baseman Perez because he's got the hold the runner Burleson on.
Well, Pete Rose playing in shallow at third base as Willoughby is up in a bunt situation. Tony Perez charging through at first base, but not in time as Morgan snuck in behind the runner, and they almost had him.
What a snap throw by Bench. He rifled that one.
The set play, a time play. Joe Morgan started going right off the bat. Here he comes, right behind the runner Burleson. Burleson, a very alert base runner. A lot of guys might have gotten picked off on that.
The Red Sox getting a 2-run homer from Evans to tie it up, and now trying to get the go-ahead run around. Burleson at first base, 1 out. The 1-0 to Willoughby. Bunt at first base side. It's a good one. Tony Perez will have to throw on to Morgan covering for the out on a sacrifice bunt as Willoughby does his job.
Look at Pete Rose on that last bunt. By the time the bat is on the ball, He's 10 feet away from Willoughby, the pitcher. Willoughby with an exceptional bunt on this artificial surface. Now look at Johnny say, knock it down. You could see him directing traffic back at home plate.
Raleigh Eastwick and the Reds involved in a pressure cooker situation as Roger Moret goes back to begin throwing in the Red Sox bullpen. 5-5 tie. Go ahead run at second base in the ninth inning with 2 out. And Cooper with a pop-up back of the plate, but Bench will not have a play on it. Makes no difference. A Red Sox fan, a Reds fan. This has been some kind of ball game. Boston led 1-0. The Reds went out in front 5-1, and boy, credit the Red Sox. They have battled back. Low and inside. 1 ball and a strike.
Well, the Reds have come back, I think, over 40 times this year to win games. The Red Sox have done the same thing. You don't win a league championship without doing that.
Eastwick trying to get the 3rd out. Checks Burleson at second. Cooper with a foul back. Cooper, one of 4 300 hitters for the Red Sox this season. He batted .311. 5-5 lockup. 1-2 pitch. Swung on. Fly ball. Shallow center. Geronimo. He's got it. The sign retired. A 9th inning that ties it up for the Red Sox. 2 runs on 3 hits with a man left on. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Reds 5, Boston 5.
We'll be right back with more of Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports. This World Series memory is brought to you by Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio on HBO Monday, October 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
My greatest World Series memory is that I did so poorly in the only World Series I was in. And when you start daydreaming about your career, great moments, great disappointments. And disappointments that you didn't do better in a certain spot. And actually, as I look back over my career, I had more pluses than minuses when it came to hitting or performing. And still, that was such a big disappointment to me. It pretty overshadows anything I ever did in baseball. But I have to block it out of my mind a little bit because I had some pretty good successes too.
The grace. Oh my God, watching him was graceful. Everything he did was easy for him.
The glamour.
There was a matinee idol quality to him that you usually associate with the film business.
The all-American hero. You're looking for a hero, something to believe in. That's what Joe was. From reluctant star to reclusive legend.
He lived for baseball.
For those who saw him play, it will always be summer. Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio? Premieres Monday, October 20th on HBO.
Still shaving with blades? We know how you feel about that. The Norelco Reflex Action Razor. Anything closer could be too close for comfort.
What goes on inside the brain of a pitcher like John Smoltz? How does he tune out 50,000 screaming fanatics? How does he stay focused with a runner on first who does the 40 and 4-4 and a 342 hitter at the plate? You see, all Smoltz thinks about is this imaginary tunnel with a 2-inch leather target at the end. And there's only one sound that can break his concentration.
Strike 3! You're watching the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
There you see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, Johnny's wife, Vicki, along with her parents, as Johnny leads off the 9th inning. He's had one of the 3 Cincinnati home runs. A blast-off starter, Wick Rise, in the 4th inning with a man on. Willoughby delivers, then swings, and he misses.
Still has 2 more, Mom.
Nobody throwing in the Cincinnati bullpen. As Kurt mentioned, 2 working for Boston. There's a bouncing ball foul off the third baseline. The Cincinnati bullpen, it has been so ballyhooed in this World Series, but I'll tell you, Boston's bullpen has simply been outstanding tonight. 0-2, Jim Willoughby against Johnny Bench. Ground ball third. There's Petrocelli eating it up.
I tell you, he's been amazing in this series. He's done it all with a bat, with a glove. He has an inner ear problem, and he almost has threatened to retire. He's been ill the last month, but he looks like he's 22 years old the way he's played in this series.
That was a tougher play than it looked because he was right on the line protecting against the double. Had a long way to go to his left. That ball hit that area you described earlier, right around that seam near the dirt part.
Here's a guy who can hit him a long way, George Foster. 23 home runs during the season, hitless and 2 times up tonight, has walked. Strike one.
We know Willoughby so far has had it because they're hitting the ball on the ground. Only one man has hit the ball in the air against him. He's got that sinker ball. They're beating it down.
On deck for Cincinnati, Davey Concepcion. Bottom of the 9th inning with 1 man out and the base is empty, a 5-5 score. Burleson will play it from deep in the hole at shortstop. And a nice play by Cecil Cooper as he saw that ball was going to take a hop, backed up, but still stayed on the bag to make the play on it and retire Foster.
He's got a good arm. Luckily, he had the artificial surface to skip the ball off. Cooper makes a super play, backing off on the ball. Had he stretched, he'd gotten a funny hop.
Burleson usually will throw you out on a fly on that one. He has a very deceiving arm, strong arm, the little rooster.
So Jim Willoughby an out away from sending this game into extra innings. He has retired bench and Foster on ground balls to the left side, and here's Concepcion. He homered in the 5th inning. Ground ball, easy pop for Petrocelli. And that's all for the Reds as they go out meekly. 1, 2, 3 in the 9th inning. 3 up, 3 down, and at the end of 9 complete, Reds 5, Boston 5.
You're watching Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports. Legends of the Fall is brought to you by Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
If I ran the post office, there'd be a way to send paperwork and merchandise overseas that gets attention. Something that says, open me. I'm important. But it's got to save money, real money, and go to all my key markets. Plus, it would have value, it'd be reliable, and fast.
Global Priority Mail. It's happening at your U.S. Postal Service. We deliver.
Could you help me with the computer?
You need a laptop.
That's too small. I just wanted something to email my grandson.
Email. I got one more for you. Video conferencing. This puppy, great for presentations. 80 megs of RAM, DVD, lots of fonts. You like fonts? Of course you do. Everybody likes fonts. 900 megawatts, 1200 dpi color printer.
Gateway systems feature Intel Pentium processors. Call us and get one that's right for you.
Classic Sports Network presents This Day in Classic Sports, October 20th, 1993. I am my brother's keeper after this.
What if you could collect life's greatest moments? If you could just hang on to them and not let any slip away? And what if every time you remembered them, they were just as vivid, just as great? On Classic Sports Network, memories don't pass you by, nor are they carted off and filed away. They're front and center, and even sideways. Classic Sports Network, the only network where once-in-a-lifetime moments happen 24 hours a day.
October 20th, 1993, skating in his 1,052nd game and for the first time against brother Brent. Superstar Wayne Gretzky scores his usual 3, leading LA to victory over Tampa Bay. Tune in every day for This Day in Classic Sports.
We now return to Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
So we're going to the 10th inning. 5 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for the Red Sox. 5 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Reds. Doyle, Yastrzemski, and Fisk facing Raleigh Eastwood. The strike to Doyle, who's gone hitless in 4 times. Cooper, at the top of the order, went hitless in 5. 0 for 9, the number 1 and 2 men in the Red Sox lineup. Yet they still tied this game. Strike 2. And Yastrzemski's failed to hit. The hitting by the Red Sox has been down at the bottom of the order. 2 strikes. Foul ball into the seats down the left field line. Nolan, Darcy, Carroll, McEnany, Eastwick. Here we are now with pitcher facing batter from 2 shots. All the way on the left, and steady on the right. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Doyle leading off the 10th. Ooh, that was just outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bench thought they had the corner. The 2-2 pitch to Denny Doyle. 3-2. Perez right on top of that first baseline. Down at first. The 3-2 delivery. Bounding ball up the middle, over for Morgan. No play. He wisely held on to it. He wasn't going to take any chance of a bad throw, an off-balance throw. And Doyle battled back from a 2-strike count. That's the 10th hit for the Red Sox.
Watch Morgan give way. He knows that Concepcion is the only one who has a chance to make a play. He just backed off. David, with exceptional speed, just couldn't get it on the high hopper on the artificial surface.
The Red Sox have out hit the Reds double now, 10-5. Of the 5 Red hits, 3 have been homers and 1 triple. Yastrzemski grounded out twice, walked and struck out. And Bourbon goes to work in the Cincinnati bullpen. High to Yastrzemski. The right-hander's on deck, Carlton Fisk. We're all tied, 5 up, 10th inning. You never know, do you? The Reds did it in Boston in the 9th. Now the Red Sox battle back tonight here when they look like they're out of it. Ball 2 to Yastrzemski. And the Cincinnati crowd is very uneasy right now. The 2-0 pitch to Yastrzemski. He hits a drive into deep center, way back. Geronimo right up against the wall. A couple of feet higher, and the Reds were in real trouble. Geronimo gauged that one perfectly. Yastrzemski got his pitch, and he really leaned into it.
Here's Geronimo displaying a great knowledge of his home park, going back very nicely, knowing when he hit that warning track, when he had to jump. He is a superlative center fielder, and I guess for a number of years, boys, we're going to hear who's better. Geronimo, Lynn, throwing a few others too, I guess.
Carlton Fisk homered in a second, nobody on. Walked twice, grounded out, bench to Perez. He's 1 out of 2 officially. 1 down, Doyle at first.
We see it again, the catch by Geronimo, and as Tony says, he knows this ballpark like he knows the palm of his hand. He knew how much room he had. He made a little leap at the last second to bring it down, and the thing about this man is that he does things so effortlessly that a lot of people feel like he does not get the credit he deserves.
The 1-0 pitch. A strike, a fastball to Carlton Fisk. 1-1. Fred Lynn is on deck for the Red Sox. Geronimo is playing Fisk straight away. Foster's more toward the line, and Morgan is shading second. 2 balls and a strike to Carlton Fisk. That's Geronimo.
A lot of clubs in the American League will play Fisk over more toward left center field, so maybe they're going to try and keep the ball away, get him to hit the ball to center field.
The 2-1 pitch. Runner going. Hit and run on. Bounded to Morgan. Tag. Throw. Double play.
The great part about this is that Morgan does not allow himself to get in the way of Doyle, where he could have gotten upset and would not have been able to make that last throw to get the front end of that double play.
Here it is again as the batter Fisk hits the ball on the ground and perfectly played as the runner goes. Morgan was heading toward the bag. He fielded the ball, tagged the runner sliding Doyle and got the easy double play of Fisk at first base.
We'll be right back with more of Game 3 of the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
It's time for Bernie Williams to get into the batter's box and face a rock-hard ball coming at him from just 60 feet 6 inches away. Battling sinkers, sliders, curves, knucklers, changeups, forkballs, fastballs, and the occasional brushback. But Bernie doesn't sweat it. Hey, he's got a whole 1/10 of a second to react.
Griffey going back, he's near the track, he leaps, what a catch!
Baseball fans, now you can own the ultimate collection of baseball videos. 4 videos for the price of 1. All from Major League Baseball Home Video, the official source of big league fun.
Treasure this, for you may never see it again in your lifetime.
Just look at this all-star lineup. First, you'll get the biggest names in baseball, up close and in action, and baseball's hottest stars.
Back goes McRae, wow!
Then it's the finest showcase of fielding gems ever assembled in one place, all together in This Week in Baseball's Greatest Plays.
Ball is there! Yo! Ball!
Next, you'll go onto the field and into the clubhouse for an inside look and listen to the real sights and sounds of baseball, and now it can be heard.
Don't you be intimidating! I'm not intimidating! So what? Where's he allowed to go?
Plus, there's more. Order today and you'll also receive Super Duper Baseball Bloopers, too. It's a double-sized dose of baseball's funniest bloops and blunders. More than an hour's worth of fun and laughs, all packed into one super tape.
Reaches up. It's him right there. He goes over the top. Look at this. Boing.
It's a Grand Slam collection. 4 videos for the price of 1, and it's available only through this special TV offer. Don't miss your chance to get into the game and have a ball.
Yes, another one. That's gonna make it. Yes, look at the boy. Look, see you. Did I? Yes.
Here's how to order yours today. To order your baseball video collection, just call this toll-free number right now. You'll receive all 4 of these fantastic videos, a $60 value for only $24.95. This is not a club. There is no additional purchase. So call and order your baseball video collection now.
You're watching the Ultimate World Series on Classic Sports.
Cesar Geronimo will start it off for Cincinnati in the last of the 10th inning. Give him a good hand for the catch. Sit and watch ball games year after year. Got Terry Crowley coming out on deck, left-handed batter. Bounce foul. How many times when that player makes a great play in the field does he come in to lead off the inning? A left-handed pinch hitter, Crowley, will be up next. Cincinnati trying to get that rhythmic clap going for a rally. They had a 5-1 lead at one time. There's a strike in the inside corner. And Willoughby jumps ahead of him 0-2. Drago and Moret, right-hander, left-hander, all heated up and ready in the Boston bullpen. They're deep for Geronimo. Willoughby just missing. Drago, the right-hander, Moret, the left-hander. One ball, 2 strikes to Geronimo. Hard ground ball, base hit into center field. The Reds have the winning run on.
Crowley was on deck, but now Sparky is going to his good bunter. He's done this before during the season, I believe, Marty. He's going to Ed Armbrister, who's an excellent bunter. Saves him a left-handed pinch hitter by doing this.
Ed Armbrister will bat for Raleigh Eastwick. And the winning run is on for Cincinnati in the last of the 10th inning. We're tied 5-all. In extra inning games this season, the Reds won 11 out of 15, and the Red Sox won 8 out of 12. They were both tough in extra innings. Well, the Red Sox know this man's a good bunter. Petrocelli's in tight at third. Cooper will be charging. The outfield straight away, not too deep. Willoughby makes the move. Had 3 steals tonight by the Reds. Foster, Perez, Griffey outside. Geronimo is a good base runner. He stole 13 out of 18 this year.
Kurt, he's another one that Joe Morgan is hoping to work extensively with in spring training to try and increase his base stealing production, as with Ken Griffey.
Armbrister hit a sacrifice fly. 10th inning in the final game at Pittsburgh in the National League playoffs to provide the winning run. Throw to second. High. By Carlton Fisk over to third. Safe.
We are going to have
down at second.
We're going to have an argument. They may reverse this decision.
Red Sox are arguing interference at the plate.
They are saying that a batter, after bunting, interfered with Carlton Fisk, the catcher, in fair territory. He has to give room to Carlton Fisk so he can make the play. There's Daryl Johnson, Rico Petrocelli. Apparently, home plate umpire Larry Barnett is not going to reverse his decision. He might ask for help for somebody else. One of the other umpires who they feel might have had a better look. Well, let's wait and see what happens. That's what Daryl Johnson wants. He's calling first base umpire Dick Schapp right now.
Tony and Marty. Is that a gamble play at second by Fisk?
Absolutely, Kurt. And, well, I'll tell you, to be honest about it, Tony, I don't know how you feel, but he may well have a valid argument, both Carlton Fisk and Daryl Johnson.
Daryl Johnson right now is saying, I want to hear from Dick Schapp, but apparently Larry Barnett is saying, no, I made the call, I'm sticking with it. Daryl Johnson saying he interfered with my man, my catcher, Carlton Fisk, in fair territory. And we're going to look at it again and see what we've got. Here is the butt, with Geronimo on first. Watch this now. Fisk has got to have room. Armbrister right in his way. I have got to say right there, he interfered with him.
Okay, I'm a catcher. Gary's a catcher. This is the play we've argued about. We've talked about it. And now we're going to take another look at it, the interference play of Armbrister, or is it interference? Gary?
Well, initially, I thought it was interference. But you see right there, Fisk, he pushes Armbrister out of the way, and Armbrister backs up. So Fisk has a clear shot to throw the ball to second base. All right? Now, Armbrister, he didn't have intent of obstruction.
The rule says nothing about intent.
I understand that, but he has every right to start toward first base, and it's the catcher who has to try and get that runner out of the way.
Now, if he can't get him out of the way when he's making the throw, that I would say is interference, but he had a clear shot even on this picture. Look how far away Armbrister is.
Exactly. And then look at Larry Barnett. He's got his arm up in the air, indicating that either the ball is fair or that he's making an out call. But obviously, Fisk did not tag Armbrister. He had a clear shot to second base. I just think he made the throw high.
Do you think that with Barnett's arm up like that, they assumed out?
Well, maybe that's the reason why Daryl Johnson came out and argued a little bit about the interference call, but then the possibility that Larry Barnett had called Armbrister out before Fisk made the throw to second base.
See, I think he had a clear shot, and he just made a high throw. He lets the ball go high, and it goes into center field.
Exactly.
And I know because I'm an expert on letting the ball go high and going to center field. Well, after all that, the inning still wasn't over. Let's go back to the bottom of the 10th with runners at second and third, nobody out. Now, Roger Moret is now pitching for Boston.
All right, the Reds now have a great chance. Pete Rose is up. And Fisk looks to the dugout.
They got to walk him.
They got to put him on and hope for a force out at home or a forced double play starting at home. The outfield will come in. Long fly will win the game anyway. The infield will be in. This will load the bases with nobody out in the last of the 10th inning. And a play that I believe will go down as one of those controversial plays that you talk about for years to come in a World Series.
As I recall, a World Series here not too many years ago, there was another controversial play at home plate involving Bernie Carbo when Kenny Burkhart was bumped, I believe, on the play. Some said he couldn't see it well, but he made a controversial decision. We're moving him in the outfield. Way in. Merv Rettenman now has come out. He's going to bat for Griffey. Yep. Sparky going with the percentages.
Merv Rettenman will hit for Griffey. Rettenman's a right-hander. The outfield very, very shallow. All Rettenman's got to do is do something. The Red Sox now try and choke off Geronimo at the plate. 5-5, last of the 10th inning. There'll be a lot of arguing about that bunt by Armbruster. Did he interfere with Carlton's Fisk attempt to make a play? That's what the Red Sox were arguing about. That Fisk was interfered with. Barrett fires a strike. He's a strikeout pitcher. He's got great stuff.
He's not much of a ground ball pitcher. His fastball rides high most of the time, high and away, and they hit fly balls off in the right and left center field.
One strike. There's an outstanding fastball and a good curve. 114 and lost 3 this year. He was both a reliever and a starter. He's never been in a tougher jam than this with bases loaded, nobody out. Last of the 10th inning, World Series game number 3. The Reds at one time leading 5-1. Red Sox came back to tie it on Dwight Evans' homer in the 9th. Strike 2 to Merv Rettenman. 0-2. Rogelio Moret. From Puerto Rico, 6'4", 175-pounder, willowy. Now the 2-strike pitch. Just a piece of it by Rettenman. He won some big ball games in July and August with that fastball.
Here's the pitch. He tried to blow it by Rettenman high and tight. Just got a piece of it. Then after that pitch, a conference on the mound. Moret and Fisk, as we look at Sparky, looking over who Darrell Johnson's got left, and a little scouting report also.
He's got the book, huh? Moret's only 26, just turned 26.
He's going over the hitters, it looked like, with Eastwick, in case they have to go back out there.
The 2-strike delivery to Merv Rettenman. High and away. The infield in, the outfield in. Bases are loaded, nobody out for the Reds in the last of the 10th. Geronimo started with a single. Armbruster trying to bunt. Fisk trying to field the bunt. Scrambled up at home plate. Fisk threw the ball into center field to set all this up. Curve is low, 2-2 count. Fisk and the entire Red Sox team raging that Fisk was interfered with. This is a good block by Fisk behind the plate.
Fetch has done this a couple times tonight, getting down, keeping the ball in front of him. We see Fisk do it now. Look at Rettenman hanging tough following that breaking pitch down.
2-2 count. Bases loaded, nobody out. 5-5, last of the 10th. Struck him out with a fastball. Rettenman caught looking. He had something on that one. Now there's one out with the bases loaded. And Joe Morgan, the batter. The outfield still has to play shallow. And the infield in. If he did hit the ball on the ground, he's a tough man to double up. You had to go catcher to first. Now, Darrell Johnson trying to get the attention of one of his players.
3 fine throwing outfield arms, led by Dwight Evans and Wright.
And they're all accurate arms. This is a job, though, where a pitcher almost has to do it himself. One down, bases loaded. 5-5 tie. Curveball, missing. 1-0 to Joe Morgan. The Reds. There's the winning run, potential winning run, Geronimo. That's Armbruster at second. Pete Rose at first. 1 ball, no strikes. To Joe Morgan. He had him going on that curve. 1-1. I think Joe said, hey, that was quite a curveball.
Scouting report didn't tell me about that one. He's noted for his fastball.
Roger Moret in the toughest situation he's ever been called for. Has a high pop foul coming back out of play. And now Moret's ahead of Morgan. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He came in here with the bases loaded, nobody out, and struck out pinch hitter Retman. Now they're waving. They're trying to get Evans in. They say you can't throw out Geronimo that deep. Get in there, even though you've got a fine arm. They wave him in shallower.
That way he can catch a little looping line drive or a little blooper. Still have a chance at home plate.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Joe Morgan. Morgan wins the ball game. That's it. They get credit for only 1 run batted in, and the Reds win it 6-5. Joe Morgan getting credit for a single and a run batted in.
Sparky must have been thrilled to have Joe Morgan up in a game-winning situation, Gary, because with that little chicken wing of his and base hits.
Well, Joe, he was one of the premier clutch hitters in the game. He was the MVP of the league in '75, backed that up in '76 with the MVP award. And he was probably one of the best at clutch hitting in the World Series in '75. So you can't think of a better guy to have up in a game-winning situation, but Hall of Famer Joe Morgan.
It didn't make a difference, right-hander or left-hander. He just did that off a left-hander.
Absolutely. And I mean, I saw Joe at All-Star games, and he was one of the best at turning the double play during my era. And as far as hitting, I mean, you wouldn't want him up there in game-winning situations.
Turn a double play with that little glove of his. That glove looked like a motorman's glove. I think he wore it only to keep his hand warm, for crying out loud.
Well, you're right, and it was a very small glove, but it helped him to turn the double play so quickly. And I put it on one time, and it was like having batting gloves on.
Yeah, it didn't fit, did it?
No.
Especially with those knuckles going all different ways. Well, the Reds eventually won this Classic World Series in 7 games, and we remember Game 3 is one of the most controversial in series history. So for Gary Carter, I'm Joe Garagiola, and hey, thanks for joining us.
Coming up next on the Ultimate World Series, Reggie Jackson gets hip as the Dodgers take on the Yankees in Game 4 of the 1978 World Series, right after this.
I'm here to tell you I'm the best teammate you've ever had.
Watch Kirk Gibson go to bat. Watch Distant Replay, now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, only on Classic Sports.
Family, religion, and the Green Bay.
Agony and frustration. Good news. Never run marathons. Have babies when I should have.
When I was 15 years old, 16 years old, I went to San Diego Stadium to see a young black pitcher who was making all kinds of notice, Satchel Paige. And I got to where I was crazy about Satchel Paige as a ball player. Then later on, I did have a chance to hit at Paige when he was an old man and still a good pitcher. Had pinpoint control, and he had a ripping fastball. But he was a smart pitcher. Heck, I can tell you about the time that I had 2 strikes against Satchel Paige. And at that time, he wasn't the pitcher he used to be, and his ball looked pretty big to me. I thought, boy, get it over here. And he wasn't near as fast. He was just kind of a shell of what he'd been. But he got me 2 strikes one day. And if ever I was conned, he conned me. And he started his wind-up, you know, kind of a hesitation thing. And you didn't know how to try to get in balance with him or in a gait with him. And he got right back here, both hands back. And he turned his hand like that. Oh, I said, curveball, you know? I thought I'd really seen something. Right down the middle, strike 3, see you later, fastball. So I thought, boy, that's a pretty smart old guy. Well, I struck out the next day. Satchel used to always come in late in the game. But in Boston, he had to go through the Red Sox dugout. And he started up the stairs, and he's going to go out to the bullpen. And he says, where's Ted? And I was sitting right there. He said, where's Ted? I said, right here, Satch. And then he said something that was just something. He said, you know better than to guess with old Satch, he says. And he knew that he'd give me the con job up here. right down the middle. And if I'd have got a base hit or a home run on that pitch, I probably never heard this story, but I didn't. I got called out on a strike because I was sure it was a breaking ball the way he was doing that. So he says, you know better than to guess with old stats. Well, he was pretty damn smart out there on the mound. And no question, one of the great pitchers.
In frustration. Good news. Never run marathons. Have babies when I should have.